Hello. We're
Hello.
live.
Yeah, we've been live. It's Thursday, January 26th, 2023. Um, Welcome to Game Day 716, post Bills Bengals 4 days later. Is that what you got?
Yeah, that's what I got. Yep. That's about
All right. Well, Bengals 27, Bills 10.
10. Yes.
Didn't seem like the Bills got 10. Noah and I went to the game. And the crowd wasn't into it.
No.
The
No,
team,
because it was like bad from like the beginning.
no,
Like,
but the team. I mean, the crowd even started bad. Like I thought this crowd was flat, and I thought the crowd wasn't expecting as much Cincinnati,
yeah.
as many Cincinnati fans to like
Yeah.
be yelling is almost as loud as Bills fans and that kind of thing. We got invaded and we got
That was annoying.
it was annoying. They
We're just gonna
weren't they
get down
weren't
to it. Like,
they weren't great. They weren't great.
no.
I was gonna say foes, but they weren't great, friendly visitors.
Yeah.
Um so Cincinnati did nothing of amazement and scored 27. Bills somehow got lucky and scored 10.
Yeah.
Um I think that's the most flat I have ever seen the Bills in the history of my life.
I mean, it's extreme. I mean, it's extremely uncharacteristic. On top of it, I mean,
Right.
I don't know. I mean, they sat there and said, "Oh, the gas ran out," and I don't know. I don't know if I want to believe that. Maybe down the line,
Yeah.
but like I feel like with this one, like this is tougher than 13 seconds. This is tougher than last year. Like I feel like all the losses except this one like are explainable.
Mm-hmm.
Like first year against Houston, he doesn't have a number one wide receiver.
Yep.
Second year against the Chiefs, they're just not ready. Third year, 13 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay, you went whatever. Like I felt like when 13 seconds happened, it was like, yeah, that sucked, but like we just went toe to toe. The overtime rules suck. We're moving on. But then with this one, what do you say? Like, how do you explain what happened? Like, the players want to sit there and say they ran out of gas.
We were tired.
And I go, I understand that. And, yeah, you guys have had a really, really tough, long year. You guys have been through a lot, and I'm not discrediting that. And, I'm sure the Hamlin situation changed a lot of their minds. But on top of it, it's also the playoffs. I mean, Bean kind of sat there and was like, I guess I didn't realize, like, how Super Bowl or bust this was. It's like, what? I don't know. I felt like nobody was paying attention to anything. Like, it just didn't matter in the end. Like, it was just kind of like
where we
brush it
thought they
off,
were on the
whatever.
same page all season.
Yeah,
They come out and all have very differing press conferences.
that's true. From the players to McDermott to Bean, it's just
Yeah.
no one has a clear, concise message. Like,
Yeah. I mean, when McDermott came out, you got a little hope.
right? Because yeah, he came out with a little fire, a little zest. He said everybody's going to be under review, which it has to be. And yeah, he kind of said the things we wanted to hear. That's that was bad. Yeah,
Right.
we have to build a Super Bowl winning roster, not a Super Bowl winning culture. Like, yeah, it's
Right.
cool that everybody wants to win the Super Bowl in the locker room, but do you have the right players to do it? Obviously not. You've now lost every time.
Yeah. And McDermott kind of said, we're at the point of player over culture. I think he actually said we have our core.
Right, you have enough.
We
culture.
have our core, our core to have a culture.
Right.
He's like, now it's talent over culture. That's what we need to focus on.
You have enough leaders to be able to bring these guys in and to say this is how we do things. And like, I don't understand how you didn't already I guess. Like, why wasn't?
How they didn't know,
Yeah. Like, I don't know.
or why they weren't bringing guys in who
like, why were you still choosing culture if you felt this way?
right.
Or did you not feel this way until now? But like, why did it change this year
Right.
when you had a down year across the board?
Right.
Like,
Well, it seems a lot.
That doesn't make sense
It
for
seems
McDermott's
like
press
it
conference.
seems like a hindsight conversation or a hindsight quote.
But that's also bad too,
That's
because
what I'm saying.
you've had these guys for what,
I'm
4 years now?
I'm not
3
saying it's
years?
good. I'm not
Yeah,
saying
no,
it's
I know.
good.
I'm just saying.
I'm saying it sounds like a hindsight quote where you're able to say it after the fact, and that's not great.
No.
You
No,
know.
it is not.
So yeah. So as we said, they came out flat. They won the toss.
Ooh.
They won the toss. Everyone was pretty pumped up.
That's about it.
Then they had to kick off the ball.
Right. I mean,
Bengals marched down the field.
Yeah.
Score 7 right off the bat.
I mean, first play, he hits Jamar for 6 yards. Then Mixon runs for 5, and then he hits the big play down the field. And like at that point, I was like, oh no, a little bit.
Well, to a point, sure.
I mean, I lost all hope with 12 minutes left in the fourth. That's when I knew it was done. Like,
why? Why was that the point?
Because I still had faith in this team that there would still be a comeback even down like 24-10.
Yeah.
That something can happen. But then like they got the field goal to start and I was still kind of there, and then the Bengals got the touchdown, but then it was like punt, and then the Bengals got a field goal, and then right after they turned it over on downs. Yep. Like on that drive, even though they were driving, that was the drive where I'm like, they're not even going to score because they weren't going anywhere. Even though they got to the Cincy 16, it felt like they weren't going anywhere. And then there was the penalty on Spencer Brown for the false start. And, from that point on, it was like, yeah, no, it's over. And that was 2 plays before they tried it on 4th down, which was the incomplete deep right that hit Davis right in the hands.
Deep left.
He says deep right here, but I don't know.
Well, maybe right. They were looking at it. I don't know.
Whatever.
Well, we were on the right side of the field.
Oh, this might be the play in the end zone where Eli Apple shoved him or whatever, but I don't know. I mean, they were at the Cincy 16, so it would make sense. But, like, you need 6 yards when you're at the 16. Get the 6. Like, come on.
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot of that throughout the game. The game before it, there was a lot of talk about spacing between the receivers and there not being good offensive, not an offensive plan, but a really good offensive scheme. I thought this scheme was fine, but the plan was bad. I felt the opposite. And like when I think about that, like you said, I get frustrated because it just didn't seem like they were ready, and I don't know how you can't be ready for a playoff game.
Yeah.
I mean, they were kind of flat against Miami, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I mean, there was a little bit of that jolt in the second half, but that was just kind of like it felt like to push them over the edge.
Right.
Like when they went down.
Right.
After having a lead for
something. They're like, let's not lose to a third string quarterback.
Yeah, let's not lose to Miami.
Right. And then they were playing Cincinnati, and they kind of thought they were in the same spot, like just not really doing anything of importance. Or anything.
Anything?
Just any imagination. Like no imagination, no style, no anything to it. You didn't see the high fives on the sidelines. You didn't see anything.
Everybody looked flat. Yeah, it was just like nobody
But
had anything.
and again, like back to what you said, that's not a good excuse. That's not
Like I
good.
get it, but like at the same time, it's like you guys. I don't know. Like, I just expected more. I guess.
I expected them to win. I mean, every single show we've been talking about the Super Bowl parade.
Right.
And pretty seriously, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, we've been talking about their, really being.
I mean, like we talked about, them like eventually running out of that like perseverance that they seem to have.
Yeah.
But then, like we also said it was like every single turn, every single time it seemed this team met a roadblock or met something.
Right.
They would just get over it. Like then you would just be like, okay, like that's just what we do, I guess. And then it was like,
Right.
but it was also like from the opening kick to the end, it was like nothing went the way it normally does. Like they didn't play the way they normally do. Like you said, the sideline interactions weren't normal. I mean, you had Diggs yelling at Josh either to throw him the ball or to stop listening to Dorsey, which we can talk about that in a second. But it was weird. It was just not good across the board. And like I also don't like the being excuse of, well, you're just gonna have those games. It's like, okay, but
not now.
In the biggest moments, you seem to have these games.
You
like have these games in week 3. Like that would be fine because
which they did.
Right. But we overlooked it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we'll get there. So when we like you said, with Bean saying falling flat, and that it was just one of those days, like how do you reconcile that with the Bills not entire, but with the Bills playoff history under McDermott, like, and where they stand? Like what are your thoughts there? And what?
Well, I mean, again, I think it just goes back to what I was saying. It's like, why every single time leading up to this, like what I was saying in the very beginning, every single time leading up to this, there was an explanation where at least we could get over it. With this one, there wasn't. Like this was supposed to be the roster, right? Like honestly.
Well, they did, right? I mean, 2 years ago it was about beating the Chiefs, right?
Right.
And then last year, they didn't do that.
But there was a 13 seconds and we,
and they felt like they were close enough.
Right.
Right. And so they said, this isn't about beating the Chiefs anymore. It's about winning the Super Bowl.
Right.
Right. So now they lose. And this year they say this is now really about winning the Super Bowl next year.
Right. But it's like now, but on top of that, and like, I'm fine with losing Poyer, but still, it's like you're going to lose guys. Like, what if they lose Edmonds? What do you do then? Who do you plug in there? What are you going to do? Like,
you find a guy.
I know you find a guy, but you're not going to, I mean, you just lost out on that. Like, and then you're going to probably lose Singletary, and you got to hope that James Cook is ready, I think. I mean, unless you want to bring somebody in. But where do you find all this cap space? And it's like,
Hines will be there, right?
Yeah.
And they could probably find another running back without much of a problem. If what I've said before, like that, hopefully, maybe, possibly, they've learned from their mistakes in the draft.
Yeah.
I feel like we talked about this last draft, and I feel like I brought this up in the middle of the season, and neither of you guys agreed with me that Bean is overrated as a drafter, and I think it's coming clear that he's overrated as a free agent signer as well. Who has actually worked out.
I mean, like all these guys have flashes. That's the problem.
People are saying, like, take Allen out of his history, and what do you have? I mean, you have Edmonds who's walking away.
If you take Allen off of this roster, they're not going to win more than 7 games.
Oh, definitely. Well, I mean, that would be playing with 10 players, though.
No. I mean, like if you take Allen, just like if Allen wasn't the QB and you put like Case Keenum or whoever. Like
Well, it
not
wouldn't
an
be
elite.
Keenum, right? I
Okay,
mean,
but put Mitch Trubisky on this team. If I mean honestly, he's not going to get this team when it win more than 7 games.
I would like to think that if they didn't have Allen, they would have someone better than Trubisky. Like that they're not that dumb, but like maybe they are. I mean, who knows?
Okay, well,
Regardless,
but I mean, like if
regardless,
they drafted
it's
Darnold, even you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. Let me go back, kind of what I guess what you were saying. Like, if they had whoever who isn't Hero, Superman, Josh Allen, who they asked to hide all the flaws of the team,
right?
Maybe 9 wins. Well, I mean, you're saying 7, and you're saying 7 with Mitch Trubisky. I'm saying I think they would have a better quarterback with Mitch Trubisky. So
yeah, I mean
that's my sense.
probably
my sense is like high end would be 9 wins.
Yeah, and they probably wouldn't win the division. They probably would have to be fighting for a playoff spot.
Oh, they wouldn't make the playoffs.
Like it would come down to like the last week, if anything. I mean, like that's how much Allen has done, and it's like you said it was Super Bowl or bust this year, and that's the roster you put together, though, because like we just said, if you take Allen off of it, they're not in the same spot that they are.
Well, they have 21 free agents.
Right, that's a lot with little cap space, and
right.
Now you're saying, "Oh, we were just kidding." Now it's Super Bowl or bust when you have 21 free agents.
They weren't saying they were just kidding.
No, I know.
They were just saying, "Okay, now we need to adjust, but we're not going to suck." Right?
Yeah,
and
I mean,
we'll
that's
get
why
to
you
a
said
suck
that,
quote.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's the way I took it, at least, was like, we're not taking a step back. We're going after it again. Now, I sit there.
I don't know how you don't.
You have to.
No, I mean, like, how you don't take a step back.
I think he means from a management perspective, view standpoint. We're all in still. Like, we're not rebuilding. We're not doing, any of that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
We're just going to move forward and do whatever we can to get, like, what's the word I'm looking for?
To always be competitive kind of thing. Like,
yeah. And I don't know, like, I mean, clearly, based on what being said, they want to always be competitive.
Right.
Which
is good. I mean, I'm glad you said that. But like, also a little bit of honesty might have been nice.
I think he was pretty honest with what he said with the quote. I mean, to give our viewers what the quote was, he said he commented the Bengals on all of the talent they have, and then he said, we never want to get to that point where we're so bad that we get to amass talent that's good. That's that good, right? Which is a point. It's a point.
No, I mean, I get it, and yeah, like I said,
sure, but then the question becomes, like, what do you want to be? What do you want to be last year's Rams, where you spent 3 years building up, and then you blew the doors off the league for a year, and then
that's it?
And then that's it?
Like, that's it. Like, literally, that's it. Like,
right. Right. Or do you want to be consistently good with a high percentage chance? Right? And it's the high percentage chance, I think, that draws them in. Because if you didn't have Josh Allen, the chance is not high.
Right.
But because you have Josh Allen, you can say, we're going to ride Josh Allen in the playoffs. But they rode Josh Allen through the entire season.
Right.
And that's the difference that
and
I saw. And what?
And got him injured. I mean,
got him injured.
You once again didn't think offensive line was a focus when, and it better be this year. That's, I mean, you can bring back whoever you want, and you can, but like, you have to bring in competition. I think you have to see if you can move guys like Brown inside. I think you bring in
How
competition
do
for
you
Saffold. I mean,
how do you move a guy who's 6'8" or 6'9" inside?
McDermott said they were going to try it and try just looking at moving to him inside. And it's like,
Okay.
I just,
I thought I
that,
heard McDermott say you don't want to move guys around because
oh,
once
I
they're
don't know. I thought he said, but I don't know. But anyway, regardless, you have to bring in better linemen and draft better. Like that wide receiver room doesn't look as good as we thought it was now
no,
anymore.
no, and I mean the defensive line, which has always been
Right.
bread and butter or whatever,
It's
has
not been
always
much better.
not bread and butter. Has It's always been their focus,
Right.
right?
And you
I mean
still can't figure it out.
they don't draft it. They can figure it out. They draft guys who are too light.
True.
Look at it.
Well, and then they
Look at
also
who's
signed
there.
Vaughn, but it's like you lose Vaughn and then you have no backup plan.
Right.
Like there's nothing.
Well, I mean, and Vaughn was supposed to just be the closer,
Right.
right? So, I mean, when you have a closer, that means you have other players or other pitchers who can pitch, 7 or 8 innings. And clearly these guys couldn't do it.
Right.
You
If you're not getting
have
pressure,
Russo, but Russo could do nothing without Vaughn on the other side.
right.
The other side, Epinesa, Basham, Lawson.
I mean, all teams did all year was just put 2 guys on Rousseau.
Right.
And we're like, okay, everybody else beat us.
Right.
And then sometimes they did. Like once a game.
Once a game.
Like again.
Right. What I would like to, and again, I mean, you talk about smaller linemen. They even do it at defensive tackle because, I mean, look,
Oliver.
They spent the 9th pick on Ed Oliver.
Yeah.
When there was a list of guys, if you see who was drafted behind Oliver, that's really frustrating. But I mean, at the time, it wasn't seen as a reach.
Mm-hmm.
It was seen as.
But I remember people saying he wasn't going to fit at the time. Like he wasn't going to fit. He wasn't like the right what we really needed at that position. Like maybe he would be more better for end, like that kind of thing.
That was one of the things I was going to talk about is players who might be switching positions and Oliver was one on my list as maybe switching to end because he's the right size to hold up at end.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're putting Oliver and Rousseau, because Oliver's best asset is getting off the snap, right? So if you can get him off the snap at the same speed and get him to the quarterback from the end, do it.
Right.
Right? Instead of putting him inside where he tries to sneak through and then a guy just sort of goes like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, no, just put him, and McDermott did talk about players who would be switching.
Benford, like you've been championing. I'm going to try at safety.
Gonna try Benford at safety. That almost seemed like a lock. Based upon what he said.
Oh yeah, no, based upon what he said, it was a lock.
Yeah. That they're gonna try Benford at safety. That Singletary's gone, Poyer's gone.
Yeah.
Edmonds is most likely gone.
It is more of like a. It depends on how much money he wants.
Yeah, so he's most likely gone. Someone's gonna pay him.
Yeah, he might want to come back though.
All right, let me just say this: if you're Edmonds and your 2 brothers play for the Steelers,
yeah, I guess.
Right?
Well, I guess it depends.
And then you get to line up and get next to TJ or whatever Watt.
TJ, yeah.
Yeah, TJ Watt on one side and Devin Bush on the other.
Yeah. You would probably take Bush's spot, actually.
Who's the other middle linebacker?
Spillane, I think. Somebody. It's but I know.
Well, whatever.
They don't like Devin Bush there, but
no, they do now. They didn't last year, but he had a good season.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I don't know. I mean, I could see him coming back. I think you have to try your hardest to bring him back.
Look, I've been
Or if you don't, honestly, I think you should then try to trade Milano at that point.
well, and
Like,
that's what I've been saying this year as well. Is that if you get Evans, you almost have Milano has to see the writing on the wall. Milano's a fan favorite right now. As the Bills, you can afford to lose fans. Like, if your bandwagon people want to get off, then get off. I'll just tell you that right now. I'll look right in the camera, however I need to do it so you see my eyes. But if you're a bandwagon fan, get off the bandwagon, because it's not going to be like this year, next year. It's going to be a lot more dogfights. It's going to be a lot tougher.
mm-hmm.
We might see Allen get injured next year. Just a hunch that next year might be the year.
You think he's out the whole year? Could you imagine? God, I'd the depression that like the football season, even though they lost in such a disappointing, maddening fashion, like anger-inducing, maddening, like wanted to punch holes in the wall fashion. Because it's like, again, like we were saying, this just isn't what they do. And it's like there was no explanation for this besides like bad coaching and bad game plan and them coming out flat because of the bad coaching and bad game plan. It was like,
well, and the Hamlin clone.
Right, that too. Yeah.
That's all we're gonna say about that. I'm not giving it any more airtime.
I don't know. And I mean, I don't even know, like, I know the Bills say that they know where to go from here, but like, do you? Like,
and
what
if your
do you do?
if your ownership, what are you looking at right now that's making you have confidence that they actually know? I mean, I guess you're looking at it from this standpoint of they're in your office telling you what they're going to do, right? I mean, that has to be it, that they're with you.
I mean, I feel like
they're
you
in your
can't.
office, and like you have to be believing in what they're telling you. And it can't be, well, you know, we had the top shooting, we had the one game moved to Detroit because of the snowstorm when our players couldn't even get out, and that made them tired. And then, we had to play on a short week the next week, and then we had another snowstorm, and then where 40 people in the community, our home, died. And then like and then Hamlin happened, and it just took the air out of everybody. And as much as everybody tried to get their spirits up and get back into the rhythm and all of that, nobody could. Like, we just couldn't find, like, God, I won't say what I was about to say, even though it wasn't. We couldn't find like the same passion that we had before Hamlin went down. Like, we just couldn't get that zip back. And if that's what Terry Pagula and possibly Kim Pagula are hearing from these guys, from McDermott and Bean, then I'm saying get out of my office. Your managers. At the end of the day, you're the same manager as the manager who's running the Wegmans 3 blocks away.
Yeah.
You're a manager, right?
I sat there earlier in the week and was like, I think this was maybe like 24 hours ago. I was still pretty mad, but I was like kind of like reconciling it. And like this was before like I really like.
I'm still mad, by the way.
Oh no, hold on, I'm getting there. This was before like I saw anything from like our side. Like I saw like the Eli Apple bullshit. Like I saw that, whatever. Saw what Bengals fans were doing,
garbage.
Yeah. And was mad at that. But like I was ready like to be like, you know what? They can get a mulligan. You know what I mean? Like this can be your one.
No.
And then like I saw how they lined up on that third and 5, and that basically let them get the first down. And like people were like, well, it makes sense to do that. And I'm like, but does it? I'm like, does it? I'm like, because if that first guy misses the tackle, he's the only guy within the wide receiver range for like 5 yards. And look at what happened. The dude missed the tackle. Play
Right.
freaking press and make them beat you. Like, that's what you did to the Chiefs. You played press and were like, come on, Travis Kelce, let's go.
Right.
And Tehran and Saran and Milano, Tehran, and Saran all beat up on him.
Yeah.
And made him exhausted. That's the most tired I've ever seen him in a game. And you didn't do that. And I get it. These guys are fast and you're afraid of the speed. But like Tyler Boyd killed you. Jamar Chase never got a deep shot.
No, but he took plenty.
But he took his yards and you could have beat him up. Who cares about the deep shot? Like that's the thing. Like players like McDermott is so afraid to be burned and to give up that big play. It's like players who are good are going to get their yards. Like when you play against Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle, one of them's going to get a 70 plus yard bomb down the field.
Right.
That's just what's going to happen. Don't let them score.
Yeah.
And that was like, and that was always what I felt was their mentality leading up to this. And then they walk into this game and it's like, oh, we got to stand back. We can't let these guys go past us. We can't do this. We can't do that. We got to make them drive. But then like you don't stop mixing. You allow 105 yards on the ground on 20 rushes. And you just let him go 5 yards, 5 yards, 5 yards. Like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, most of his rushes were longer than 5. I mean, and then you just had a couple where, what did they have? Those 5 plays where it was 3rd and 1.
Yeah.
And then 4th and 1. And then 3rd and 1. And then 4th and 1. And
yeah. And it's like,
and they stopped him. And so that brought down his yardage. But it was on first downs. He was getting 7 yards.
Yeah. And it was like any single time like they needed like the game to calm down, they were just able to just give him the ball and just consistently just move.
Right.
And it's like they were able to control the clock. They were able to do it. Felt like they were able to do whatever they wanted on this team that we felt like shouldn't have that happen to. Like that's what it comes down to. And so like,
right.
You know, like I said, I was ready to give them the mulligan. And then, like I said, I saw the stuff about the schemes and all that and really delve into the game. And then the press conferences happened. And like, I felt good about McDermott. And I was like, okay, if this is the path they're taking, then I'm fine. I'm comfortable with that because it's like,
and then Bean comes out.
And then Bean comes out and is like, well, Dorsey and Frazier's are coordinators for a reason. So let's calm it down. Like that's what I felt like he said.
Right.
Like I know, and obviously that wasn't the exact quote, but I felt like he basically like scoffed at the idea that their job could possibly in any remote fashion be in question after this year. And it's like, you would at least have to be like, we're thinking about it. Like, you can't just sit there and say no.
Well, McDermott was one who said, nothing's off the table.
And I understand it, but then I felt like
No, that's what I'm saying, is McDermott comes out and says that, right? And then Bean comes out and squashes that.
And Bean was like, let's pump the brakes. Like, that's what I felt like his press conference was. Like,
right.
Yeah, McDermott came out and basically just said what you guys wanted to hear. Let's pump the brakes. We're fine.
Right.
It's one game out of a really long season. It's okay. Right. Like, no. This is 3 years in a row.
Right.
Where it's like you were in the AFC Championship game. And yes, I understand you were not there yet. But you had and even though you got walloped, like you still could have done it. And then last year, you still could have. You had your moments. Any one of those times you were trading touchdowns back and forth, the defense could have stopped the Chiefs. And that would have been it. We would have been moving on to the next round to play the Bengals. At home. Mind you.
Yeah.
And it's like, yeah, we can use those games and we can find the excuses, right? And we can find like stuff that makes us feel better. But like, you can't also just keep sitting there and hearing that year after year after year. Like at some certain point, something either you have to say, either these guys get fired,
yeah,
because it's like, okay, you're not taking us where we need to go, obviously, or you're just fine with being like the Steelers, who just are fine with keeping Tomlin because he has a winning record every single year.
Right.
Like, all right,
And he
I
won,
don't even
but Tomlin has the Super Bowl.
right, and I feel like that's also the only reason
He's
as
still
well
there.
he's still there.
Yeah.
Was because he got that ring, and now he hasn't had a losing season, and so they're like, well, even though some of them were 500 and he's missed the playoffs like what 3 years, 4 or 5 years in a row.
He's still a good coach.
I agree with that.
If you could trade McDermott for Tomlin, would you do it?
Maybe now I would, because honestly, I mean, like the thought, I think the thought is starting to creep into my head, like, is this too big for McDermott?
Right.
Is this too big for Bean? Like, can like, it's not that they're bad at their jobs. Like, it's nothing, like, it's not that they're bad at their jobs necessarily. It's like they just don't know what it takes. And like, I get it, you can't know what it takes without getting there. But it's like, if that's the case, then these aren't the guys to do it.
I think part of the problem it might be Brian Dable leaving. And not in the way that people think. Like, I think part of the problem with Dable leaving was that he took a bunch of our guys. Right?
Yeah.
He took a bunch of our coaches. He took our assistant general manager.
Excuse me.
And a bunch of our front office guys.
Yeah.
And so Bean and McDermott kind of had bare cupboards. I mean, the Giants, I think, probably had more Bills guys than the Bills did at one point. And so I think the Bills had to restock, and they may not have been able to restock with their own guys. Like, when a head coach goes and takes over his team,
right?
It was almost like Dable didn't have to do that.
Yeah.
Right? It was like he left the Bills holding the bag.
Yeah.
And like, it started so well for the Bills because they surrounded themselves with so many talented people, right? And I don't mean players. I mean coaches and executives and scouts and all of that. And they just kept getting rated, right? And not just by the Giants. I mean, who's the guy who just went to tennis? Or
I mean, the Texans GM is Brian Shane,
Joe Shane is with the Giants.
Yeah, whoever the Texans, there's somebody on the Texans who was from us at one point,
right?
And like, and it's like, yeah, no, multiple teams have done that across the league, and yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I mean, I'm gonna push back on that a little bit.
Okay.
I don't want to view that as an excuse either, because it's like, you should know who the right guys are to hire. You've been doing this for 5 years now. 4 years to that point. So it's like,
but you get complacent, I think, when you get to a certain point.
And that's
where
bad
you say,
to me.
Okay. I'm just telling you kind of how the world works.
Yeah, no,
I mean, in my opinion, but you get complacent, right? You don't think these guys are going to go anywhere. You don't necessarily have a perfect backup plan in place. You don't know who the assistant GM in Arizona is to be able to, and like that he's a top that he's an actual top whatever, he knows how to pluck, feathers from a chicken or no,
yeah, I mean,
actually that wasn't a metaphor at all.
I understand.
So that was
that's actually what happens.
That's what happened.
He knows how to make chicken. No, and I mean, I understand that. I don't know. I felt like I just expected more.
And that's fair. And I'm not
like, and they finished the year 13-3, but like, this was a hard fought 13-3. In my opinion, like, this year was a hard year. And
there were a lot of stressful games.
All the credit, and like,
but there were a lot of non-stressful games too. There were a lot of games where we could just kick back and be like, "That's our Bills."
But I feel like the biggest takeaway you were to take from this year was just how this team just kept fighting. Honestly, I mean, like I think that's the thing I'll remember the most is like I'll remember the close games more than those games. Like I feel like the year before that, I remember the blowout games because you were like, "Whoa, here we go. We're coming now." And then 13 seconds happened and you were like, "Oh, the pain of being a Bills fan again."
Right.
But this year, I don't know. Like this was a hard year.
That's an interesting thing to say, that you'll remember them as fighters and that kind of thing this year when they go out
When they
so
go out
flat.
this way. And yeah, I mean this game stings. This game hurts. But I mean like if we're taking that, I was just looking back on like the year like leading up to this. Like
Well,
you
they
know,
came out week 1 and week 2 and looked like world beaters, right?
right? But then like things adjusted.
Then they go to Miami, they get beat
Because of the sun.
pretty psychologically and physically, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean they've done. I mean honestly, they never been right since that game.
Right.
And I think like them losing the way that they did, yeah, I think it was bad. I think it was bad for the team. I think it was bad for the team
Embarrassing.
morale, and it was embarrassing. And I felt like they always tried to like make up for that, and then like that's when they would make the mistakes and would look stupid
Right.
instead. When it's like just make the easy play. Like Josh just takes the check down. Okay, got 5 yards. Next down. Like that's the way it was in the beginning of the year.
That's the way it was against Cincinnati.
Well, that's the way it was for Cincinnati.
No,
but
I'm saying against Cincinnati. Like from our standpoint, not for Cincinnati. For Cincinnati, it was just Joe Burrow playing really well to me.
I mean, like every single time something went good this year, that's what was happening. The easy play was happening. The easy read was happening. Josh being smart. Josh like showing, you know, when he runs, he was able to run, like those kind of things. And it was like when like I don't even remember the Chiefs game. That feels so long ago.
It does.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Like even the Thanksgiving game feels like I know it is kind of months ago, but it feels like even longer, like in August.
Yeah.
Like
it was a long season.
Oof.
I mean, as a fan, like we're allowed to say all the things that I said that they shouldn't tell the owners.
Yeah.
Right?
Because it's true.
True. But it's like we went through that.
Right. We're fans.
Right.
We're not
paid. We're not paid to
millions,
deal with
like
we're not paid to deal with like having our flights changed.
Right.
And that kind of stuff, and having to deal with the mental pressure of like
the sun beating down on you. Like
right.
That's not our that's not our job to figure it out. That's
right.
theirs.
Right. And that's why I don't make as much as they do either. And whatever, because they put their bodies on the line. They take that kind of sociological impacts and that kind of thing. And it just doesn't it's just not the same. And
no.
And
it sucks to hear it. Like to me, it kind of like Bean's press conference just kind of like made me mad. Like I felt like he was just kind of going,
oh, definitely.
I felt like he was just kind of be like, we're just gonna run back. We'll fill in the gaps, but we'll run it back. It'll be fine.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, it won't be.
Right.
Like, stop saying that because
right.
it hasn't worked. And it's like, I feel like now this time out of all the other times, we definitely get to say that because of what happened.
Right.
Like there wasn't a reason. Like we keep saying, there wasn't anything at all that this should have happened. Like there wasn't.
And even if like DeMar Hamlin just absolutely destroyed them physically and mentally, like you somehow need to find a way to get up for those games.
Or you're saying we're not playing for the rest of the year. Like if you don't think, like I don't know.
You could. I mean, I don't know how I would have felt about it, but they could have.
Right. You know what I mean? Like
yeah, they absolutely could have. I mean, the thing about Hamlin is everyone stopped caring the minute he woke up,
Mhm.
right? I mean, and that was a huge problem because, like, when that happens in Buffalo, like that's happening across the country, and like he was like, "Hello, everybody," and I mean, he didn't even do that, right?
Mm-mm.
But he did enough. He was like, "That's me," from like under the sheet or whatever,
Yeah.
and like I don't know, it just and I had said this at the time, like the minute he wakes up, it's just going to be a different narrative. People are going to start blaming the Bills, like, and that's exactly what happened in Cincinnati. They used it as fuel. They used what the NFL did by making it a coin flip, and
And the tickets being sold
and
early
which is absolutely ridiculous.
because they also sold tickets early to the championship game at their own stadium.
Yes, but 2 days later than the other tickets, I found out. But
Still early.
it is early. But the reason that you sell tickets to a neutral site game early,
So people can plan to get there.
right?
Like that's like I'm sorry, but and I'm not actually sorry. Fuck Cincinnati. That was the weakest storyline
Right.
I've ever in my entire life seen a team use to get motivated. Like that's weaker than Jordan making up a conversation in his head that didn't happen, period, at all. Like
Right.
the guy wasn't even on the court.
It's impressive that Jordan could do that.
Yeah.
But
This is weaker than that.
Here's what I'll say about this though, is that even though it's such a stupid thing to get annoyed about, and even though it's such a stupid thing to get worked up about, it worked. And like that's something that somebody on Twitter said, and I'm like, oh, that's so freaking frustrating, because that's true. It worked. It worked for them. They were the disrespected team.
I don't care.
You know what I mean? No, and I
No,
was
I
so
know.
mad thinking about it, because I'm like, like screw them. And like it's just fine. You want to come up with like stupid reasons? I'll start picketing the Bills stadium the day before, calling them all chickens, and cowards or something. It's the second time I mentioned chicken tonight.
Hungry?
I had chicken for lunch, so
Oh well, there you go.
um
I don't. I'm like, yeah, good for them. Congratulations, you picked a dumb storyline and were able to get hyped up about it and act like it's bulletin board material. Congratulations. I'm glad that you guys are children. Good job.
way to go.
Like,
Speaking of children, Eli Apple
yeah.
has been trolling Bills fans ever since they won, over Twitter,
And Diggs.
and Lawson. Did you think that what he did was an attack on Hamlin?
Mm-hmm. He's never used that emoji before. I don't care. I mean, you know what the emoji has been used for recently.
Right.
Like he's not stupid. And that whole fucking tweet afterwards, that's just a PR statement. That's all that was.
Well, especially because he went right back into
The exact same stuff.
into trolling again.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
Well, we see him next year.
Yeah, I think we're gonna kill them next year. And I don't care. Did you
I hope
see?
we kill everyone next year.
I would like that. Do you remember when Christian McCaffrey got traded?
Yeah.
How would the Bills be different if McCaffrey ended up
They
here?
would still be playing.
You think so?
Yeah.
So do you think it would have been worth the second, third, fourth, and another second or whatever it was next year?
They probably could have traded They probably could have traded Singletary and kept one of those.
Well, whatever. But would it have been worth giving up the equivalent of 4 draft picks
Yeah.
Or 4 draft picks and rostered play, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, whatever it would have taken. Yeah,
Is there anything that wouldn't have been made it worth it? I mean,
like if they asked for like Allen or like
right.
Diggs, like
Right.
something that is obviously not going to happen.
Right.
But like no.
Like if they asked for Gabe Davis,
I'll be like, okay.
Right. I mean, especially what we know now. Right. I mean, what we've learned from Davis is he was a fourth round draft pick.
Even though
who belongs as a fourth receiver.
I think even though when you made that trade, I think Crowder wasn't hurt by that time. So you could have like really had that debate to be like, well, McCaffrey might be able to make up the receiving.
Oh, he would have.
That Gabe is bringing and be Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
And it's like, it's because they have too much confidence in how they draft. They think they are bringing
that every player that they get is a hit.
But then they let go of guys like Wyatt Teller and Isaiah Hodgins, and I'm gonna hold on to Hodgins.
I'm not.
I'm gonna hold on to Hodgins harder than I am Teller because Hodgins would have made a difference this year.
No,
I disagree.
Well, he wasn't picked up until like week 12?
Yeah, but he was put on waivers. That's why. Because he was originally on our practice squad and he wasn't called up until Crowder got injured, and then he was sent back down and put on waivers. You're
considered on waivers while you're going back down to the practice squad.
Right, and he was called up, and then was.
That's all.
Yeah, I know that.
Okay, so he wasn't put on waivers. It wasn't like the Bills cut him.
Oh well, yeah, no, I know. Yeah, sorry. Yes, he was sent back down the practice squad. And
he was being sent down to the practice squad, and the Giants claimed it.
Yeah,
and he could have said no.
Right.
You know that, right?
Yeah.
But why would you say no?
Right.
When you're going to your old coach.
Well, you also get to be on a roster.
You know the scheme. And
they can't cut you.
Right.
They can't cut you or send you to the practice squad.
Right, because the Bills get you back.
Right.
So.
Yeah, there's no reason you say no to that. But then you look at his stats. He had a touchdown. He had a multi-touchdown game.
He had the most touchdowns of any receiver in the Giants.
Yeah.
Playing 6 games.
Right. And then I think he even had a touchdown or 2 in their playoff game, in their win against Minnesota. And it's like,
not sure, but that's okay. Doesn't matter.
He still scored a lot for them and had a lot of yards.
He had he had 6 touchdowns in like 6 games in the 6 final games of the season. I mean, that's
Gabe Davis didn't have a touchdown a game.
I guess my point about Hodgins is I don't think he would have made a difference in this offense.
Well, maybe not like a huge difference, but at least you would have had like another somebody to do something, somebody else to catch the ball. Like, I don't know. It just feels like they have these players and they are like, oh, I'd rather keep the guy who can run really fast on special teams than, keep the guy who might be able to run this route better.
The special teams narrative is old and boring, so I don't want to get into that too much. But they need to get rid of special teams guys, some special teams guys, and actually use those as actual roster spots. So, I mean, I think Tywan Jones stays. They're just going to keep him around till he retires. Matakevich, I think this is the last year of his contract. So, and he's supposed to make like $3 million next year or something. So, buy unless you're going to take like a nothing deal.
Kumaro, buy. Like it's, I don't know.
I mean, I even looked at the practice guy squad who they signed to those whatever contracts,
futures,
the futures contracts. They're terrible.
Yeah, but I think you just automatically do that.
Oh no. That's not my point. My point was their practice squad wasn't even good.
Yeah, no.
You know what I mean?
And like the other thing about like the special teams is like what you said. You're using the special teams. You're valuing the special team spot more than you're valuing a guy, and your depth got exposed consistently.
Right.
Poyer goes down and Hyde goes down, and you can't have one of them out for a game. Ed Oliver goes down, and they can't generate zip. Ed Oliver and Groot goes down, and literally can't even control the line of scrimmage. Period.
Right.
Like Tehran isn't in for like a little bit. Dane isn't in for a little bit. Can't handle it. I think Milano and Edmonds were out for together at one point.
Mhm.
Can't handle that either. It's like you trusted. I don't know. You just were like, we're not gonna get hurt. These guys are young.
Yeah, that was
like what?
That was kind of it, and I guess we thought they had more depth, right? Because
Like, ooh.
because we were still enamored with their ability to draft,
Mhm.
and now that we see through it, I'll be very interested because I want nothing to do with draft day. I want those picks, as many picks as you possibly can, traded
Oh,
for
yeah.
actual NFL players who we have seen produce.
You're living a pipe dream.
Look, here, just tell me this.
No, I'm not disagreeing.
Look, if you
I'm
could
not.
trade your first round pick for a first round wide receiver, a first level NFL first round wide receiver,
Yeah.
like who's at that level
Yeah.
of a first round pick, or a left tackle, again, who's at the level of a first round pick, wouldn't you do that in a heartbeat before drafting a left tackle or
I would.
drafting a receiver?
I absolutely would. Do I see Bean doing it? No. Because I mean,
That's why I should be running the Bills.
yeah, you and everybody else. But like, it's like I would love that. I would love him to go do that. Do I see him doing that? Though no, because we're sitting here saying they love their draft guys. They love the guys they draft. They always do. They always hype up the guys they draft and talk about how they're gonna make an amazing contribution, and then Kyer Elam gets 5 snaps over the span of the last 4 games, and then
Right.
comes up huge in the playoff game because he has to. That's it. Has to.
Yeah.
Also, it was a nice interception, but like that was also really bad. But
it seemed like
Like-
like he was in.
I would love that. I would love them to go do that. I would love them to use their picks and be like, screw the draft, screw trying to plug in rookies. Let's go win the Super Bowl, because that is what you do. You don't
Right.
just keep like, yes, you can keep hitting on guys, but it's going to take a long time. And what if you run out of time with Josh? You can't keep
When does a
saying we're going to
quarterback
build in the
peak?
draft, build in the draft, build in the draft.
What age do you think a quarterback peaks?
I want to say like 28 to like 30, like in there.
He's 27 next year.
Yeah, that's my point. He's gonna. There's a very high chance he could just plateau right now, like what we saw this year. Like maybe he limits the turnovers
with a healthy arm,
right? With the healthy arm, maybe he limits the turnovers. Like because he said from the UCL injury on, he had to like change his mechanics and that kind of stuff, and felt like he had to take more chances. Maybe next year he's able to be more comfortable. Maybe the line's better. Maybe again he should be healthy. Doesn't take those chances. He's smarter with the football. He limits the turnovers, but maybe he's not a 5,000-yard passer. Maybe he's a 4, and he's a guy who only throws 30 to 35 touchdowns, but he'll still run for 10.
Right.
Like, I'm fine with that.
Yeah, if he can get you 45 touchdowns per season,
yeah,
no matter how he gets them,
40 to 45.
I don't care if he's
that's
crawling into the end zone. I'm fine.
I mean, but that does seem to be what he gets.
Yeah,
is 40 to 45 a year.
Right. Running and passing.
But I'm just saying, this could be his plateau. This could be it. He could not. Maybe he isn't, and maybe he'll have an NFL MVP season. I don't doubt that. I'm sure there will be some season that, and it will probably be the season we win the Super Bowl, where it will be like Brady to Moss, and like he'll smash records or something. But like all the other years could just be this, just minus the turnovers.
Which I think I would be okay with.
I think so too, as long as you win a Super Bowl. But
you don't know
if you've hit your right. But if you've hit your plateau with Josh, you can't just keep expecting you to hit on rookies or expecting the rookies to be ready right away.
And
That's the other issue.
even if you've hit your plateau with Josh,
You should know what
which I don't think they have.
I don't think they have either, but it's something you have to at least think about.
But so if I'll think about it. So if they have, then yeah, you just have to give them more weapons,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And remember how we said how weaponized he was coming into this season? I mean, that clearly was untrue.
Yeah.
I mean, it was Diggs.
It was that's it, really.
It was
It was
Diggs.
Diggs. And right. And the rest of them would show up once.
Right.
They kind of all had their one game. That was kind of
Mhm.
it. And then here and there they would be
McKenzie
there.
didn't even have a game.
Yeah. But here and there, they would. But then or later on in the season, Josh asked to sign John Brown. Josh asked for Beasley to be signed
Right.
to bring back guys that he had a connection with.
Right.
Like, obviously, yeah, his room was not stocked.
Bean took a shot at Dorsey at his press conference by saying that Hines was only used 13 times this year as a receiving, or as Hines only had 13 touches. He's like, and he was brought in to return more than just kicks. That's what Bean said.
Well, there you go. Well, what did I say for weeks? Yeah. Where's Hines? Why aren't you at least trying?
Right.
What are you doing?
Right.
Like, come on. And nope. Never going to use him. Gonna only leave him for kicks. That's it. It's like,
so best scenario, Von Miller's back by Halloween.
That's fine.
Does that mean that as a team, you're not going to peak in week 2 like you did this year?
Yeah. You're going to peak when he gets back.
Well, no, he's got to get into game shape, right?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he's doing the right stuff.
No, well, he said he can't. He's not even allowed to run yet for another month and a half.
Okay.
So
I'm sure he's not sitting there like eating like.
No, he
McDonald's.
said he can walk and everything, but and he's doing all his rehab and all of that kind of stuff. I'm just saying, maybe that's something positive for us to look forward to, is that he won't be ramped up into playing form, I guess is the way to say it, until you get into later into the season.
I think regardless, every single game is going to be a dogfight next year.
Well, we did say that at the beginning of the show. Next year is not going to be this year, right?
Right.
I mean, I stared at the camera and said that's not how it's going to go.
Like, yeah. It's gonna be so. I mean, I don't think we might not even see a peak. I mean, maybe next year is a Super Bowl year because every single game's a dogfight, and then the playoffs come around and they're like, "We're ready."
They're dogs,
right? We got that dog in us. Like, I am him. They kind of get back to being like that.
Right.
Like they honestly, if we're looking, you want to break this down and make this really simple. The Bills lost their swagger. That's honestly what happened. You had it, and then it was like somebody snatched your chain or something like that. Like, I don't even know. Like, they snatched it away from you, and you don't have that anymore.
The closest timing that I can put to it is Hamlin. I mean,
but even leading up to that, the cracks were starting to show.
They were, and yes, I agree, they were, but 2 games left in the season, right? That's hard.
I know, and like I don't want to feel like disingenuous to the situation, but at the same time, it's like you guys know what. Like, you guys said, let's go win all 4 for 3. Like, you guys were like ready. It felt like you guys were ready. Like, you guys were like, we're better than all these other teams. We can do this 4 games. We're gonna bring it home for Hamlin.
Count it down,
right? Like we can do that. And it was like, okay, yeah.
No, I agree. And it's I'm just saying that from a time standpoint, they stopped looking. I mean, they stopped looking like world beaters before, well before the Bengals game. But I mean, the Hamlin Bengals game.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
that
that's
seemed
true.
like
Because I mean, like, even if you think about the Patriots game,
any metaphor that I use right now is just wrong
like,
in my
well,
head.
because like I guess
It
I
seemed
know
like
what you're
the
saying.
nail in the coffin. Like
Yeah,
I don't
no,
want to say it, you know.
no,
Like
I know what you're trying to say, because it's like it was like when you think about the Patriots game, it kind of felt like they were just kind of playing nonchalantly.
right,
Like, and it wasn't like they were being lazy. It was just like they were just kind of they were going through the motions.
going through the motions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that was it. Like they were just they like, and it was, and when they needed to do that extra little bit, they did in those final couple games. But against the Bengals, you can't do that. You have to be on from the beginning, and they weren't. I mean, they were just, again, going through the motions. But this game, it was exposed because the Bengals are so good. That's the problem. Like the
They are.
you can't just go through the motions and be like, oh well, we're just athletic enough and good enough just to make plays, so whatever happens happens. Like, you can't do that with a good team like the Bengals. You can do that with a third string quarterback in Skylar Thompson. And like, yes, that defense made plays, but the defense also like was definitely just letting things happen and reacting to it. You
Yeah.
can't do that against the Bengals, because that's when you get burned, and that's what happened.
Now here's the thing. They only gave up 27.
And yeah, and I understand that, but and that to me just goes to how good the defense is, like the players.
Yeah.
That's just how good they are.
Mm-hmm.
And also, it was snowing,
Right.
so
Well, that's why they only scored 10.
right,
Because
yeah,
they're
this
not good in snow.
right.
We need a dome. And
The Wyoming quarterback.
God, Bengals fans just need to shut up. And
Just wait till next year when the snow's literally only on the away side, and the rain, and the sun.
you mean when the
Or in 2026, not next year.
yeah.
I was a little hopeful. Yeah, in 2026, when the new stadium's built and all of the weather is on the field and the away side, exactly like it is in Miami.
I will enjoy that. Sorry.
That's okay.
So
Long day.
yes. So we're confident this is Poyer's last game.
Yes.
As a Bell.
Yes. I am. Yes.
How confident are you about Edmonds?
I think it's a maybe. Like I said, I think it's just based on money. But I really think that it really shouldn't matter, and they should just be like, we need you, please.
So you
Please.
would say to the point of franchising him?
Maybe.
Like you'd be willing to franchise him just to keep him?
The thought of him going somewhere else just scares me, especially if he goes to like the Jets. Like, I would much rather Poyer
Or
go
New England.
to New England or the Jets and have to face Poyer than having Tremaine go to one of those, or the Miami, to one of those three places.
Well, Poyer did thumbs up Miami tweet. So
I'm sure that's probably where he's going. Or to Cincinnati, like Madden always seems to think that that's where he's going to go. Because no matter what I do, can never get him to agree to a contract. So doesn't matter though. He's not coming back.
Oh, Tyrell Dodson is a free agent. Finally.
Bet he gets re-signed on a 1-year deal.
Dane Jackson is a free agent.
I would re-sign Dane Jackson. Because if you think about it, they don't have like
Jaquan Johnson.
But the corners. They don't have very many corners. They don't have very many wide receivers.
I know. Cam Lewis.
No. I don't think I would resign Jaquan. I don't think I would resign Lewis. I think I would restock that safety room. I would keep Marlowe. I thought Marlowe played well enough to be kept around, at least be a backup.
Do you think they signed Bacher at some prove it deal, and then
He goes somewhere else and really proves it? Yeah,
no,
probably.
I mean, and
I mean, I would keep
with a
Barker.
1 year
Yeah,
that jumps in the second year
I would.
or whatever, and
I mean, it's really hard to draft linemen unless you're in those top picks, in my opinion.
so would you trade up?
Yeah, yeah, I would see what it would take. I would want to try to get into that top 20 at least. I mean, if you're gonna keep your picks, get someone that you know is good.
Well, I mean, we both kind of had this thought last year about trading up to get Jordan Davis, right?
Right.
And as he kept dropping and dropping and dropping, we kept getting more and more loud, yelling at the TV during the draft,
Yeah.
like, make the freaking trade. And they never did. And so,
Oh yeah, I'm sure it probably won't happen, but yeah, I mean, if you're gonna keep your picks, I think you should try to trade up and try to get a premier talent.
but the team who did get him was able to get him and AJ Brown.
Philly, yep. And they also have Brandon Graham on that line already, and they already have Javon Hargrave in that middle, and they already have
Well, then they signed Sue,
Sue and Linville Joseph, I think.
Linville Joseph,
And,
Fletcher Cox,
right, and they have Fletcher Cox, and they have somebody else too, and
Hassan Reddick.
right. So, yeah,
So, despite having the best record in the league from week 1 to the end of the year,
Mhm.
are the Eagles being overlooked?
I think a little bit, and I think people are just nervous of Hertz's injury, which I think is really weird because I didn't think he played bad last week.
No, I didn't either.
Like, I didn't think he looked great. Like, sure, he didn't look 100%, but I'm like, he won. He was able to win. He got it. They got it done. Like, that game was pretty boring.
Yeah.
Like, they looked good.
Yeah.
Like, they demolished them. Like, I don't understand why people were.
Right.
I don't think this game's gonna be that close. I think.
You think Philly's just going to take them out?
Yeah. I
Because
think.
of Purdy?
Yeah.
You think it's his wake up
I
call?
think he's gonna choke. I really do.
Where did he go to college?
Iowa State. Him and Jalen Hurts actually played against each other when Hurts was at Oklahoma, and Hurts beat him, but it was like 45-42 or something.
Well, for Iowa State, that's pretty good.
But yeah, no, I think Purdy's gonna choke because I think like Slay's gonna. The defense, the Eagles defense is too good. Yeah, 49ers defense is great.
Offense is great.
Yeah, but at a certain point, if your quarterback's turning over the ball, I also think the Eagles.
Purdy hasn't turned over the ball.
I think if the Eagles are able to, I know that, but I think he's going to do that against the Eagles. And I think if the Eagles are able to get Purdy to turn over the ball, which I think is going to happen because he's going to choke, that I think the Eagles will just be able to control the ball on the other side. Like, I think they're just going to just wear the defense down, and they'll be the first ones to do it because the Eagles will be turning the ball over on the other side and be able to get off the field. I just don't envision the game being close. I don't know. I think the Eagles are just going to just maintain it. They're just going to keep doing what they're doing, and they're just going to just wear them down. What do you think? 49ers?
I don't know. I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah. I don't know.
That's what I think. I mean,
that's what everybody thinks too, but everybody thought the Bills and Bengals game, so I'm trying to be different.
Yeah, no, I actually think this will be a good game. Like, Bills and Bengals, we thought it would be a blowout. If you remember. It was.
It's just not in the right direction.
It's not in the right direction, yeah. So have you heard what they're calling Arrowhead Stadium now?
Yeah, Burrowhead. Yeah, I saw the Joe Mixon clip. Yeah, cool. Because what? Burrow's undefeated.
He's 3-0 there. What is Allen? 3-1?
Think so.
2-1? 2-2.
Yeah, I think he's 2-2.
2-2.
That's fine.
2-2.
That's fine. Yeah, no, I think that's just Joe Mixon being annoying.
Yep.
Or Eli Apple. I'm sorry. That wasn't Joe Mixon.
Okay.
It was Apple again, I think.
So Christian McCaffrey
I hate everything.
says there's zero chance he isn't playing.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I would hope.
Yeah, I would hope so too. Frank Reich in Carolina.
I like it.
Good fit?
I think so.
You think so?
I feel like he kind of got screwed like Doug Peterson did. Like he was kind of put in like a bad situation.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yes.
He's not walking in with Trevor Lawrence,
Well, yeah. No, I'm saying Peterson when he got fired by the Eagles before they got hurt, when they were like
right, and then Peterson got rehired by.
So yeah, but I'm saying like when he got fired, I feel like when Reich got fired, it was the same situation as when Peterson got fired. Like the reasoning that they were both put into bad situations, Peterson in Philly and Reich in Indy. And it was and also like it was the same thing with Matt Stafford all year. You kind of did expect Matt Ryan to be a little bit better. Like not great, but a little bit better. And like same thing, and they signed guys that they thought would do better on the defense, and it was like it just didn't pan out. And then they used him as a scapegoat so Jim Irsay could bring in Jeff Saturday. Like, right. So I don't.
Who is still being considered?
He's their top candidate
as a candidate. Yeah.
He's their number one. Yippee!
I got nothing on that. Yippee. Mahomes' first practice, he called it better than I expected.
That's good.
Good sign.
Beat them, please. Win.
On one leg.
Don't care. Don't care how you do it. On no legs. Just win the game.
Crawl into the end zone.
One hand. Don't care. Handstands. Okay. On your head. You have to throw the ball with your teeth. Don't care. Like, whatever.
Let Chris Collinsworth orgasm all over them.
Keep giving, I don't know. You have to go in shotgun the whole game with Travis Kelce and have him throw the ball to you because you can't throw it down the field. I don't know. Figure it out. Win the game. Beat the Bengals. Shut them up. Yeah. I don't care. I don't care how it gets done. Just do it.
Dame Lillard goes for 60. Is 60 the new 40?
I don't know. Because, like, I feel like for certain players it is only. But it's like when, like, but I feel like when, like, players like, I can't think of the guy, Jokic, and yeah, Jokic in, like, Denver goes for, like, 40.
Yeah.
That's a huge deal.
Right.
Embiid goes for 40. That's a huge deal. But, like, when, like, if Dame Lillard were to do it, that's just a normal night for him. But when he goes for 60, then that's yeah. So I think for, like, shooters, I think it might be. But I think for big men, them getting high point
40
is still because they're big men.
Right.
So I'm but I think for shooters, yeah, I would agree with that.
Me too.
Except for Steph Curry.
He's only gotten 60 once, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I could be way wrong.
Then you can include him, I guess.
I bet Clay has gone for 60 more than Steph.
Probably.
So
not for Clay.
Like that.
That's true because he can hit like 9 threes in a row,
right.
break the record kind of thing. Yeah.
Right.
In a quarter.
LeBron scored 20 last night, got him to 157 points within Kareem.
Yeah.
You excited about seeing him break the record?
I'm not. I think it'll be good for him. That's what I'll say.
Does this cement him as the GOAT? The NBA GOAT. My GOAT.
I guess. I don't know though. It's so hard. I don't know. Because I feel like in football, it's like Brady. You know what I mean? Like if you were to like really think about it.
Right. Like you would spend all this time thinking, and then Brady would pop, and you would go, "Oh,
because when it comes to Brady, well, no, it's not even just that though. It's like when you were like, if you were to like talk about players and you were to compare, like I feel like you would always find a reason to be like, well, Brady though has this, well, right. Brady though did this, well, right. Brady though did that.
That's fair.
And it's like, but like when it comes to LeBron, like he's done a lot, but it's like so did Jordan. Like he didn't have the run that Jordan did with winning
6 in a row,
with winning
or back 3-3.
well, yeah, even that's impressive though.
Mhm.
Because it's like if he didn't take the break, he might have 9 in a row. Like you don't know. You know what I mean?
Or
And
he
it's
might
like,
have won 3.
or he might have run 3. Yeah, but probably not. But it's like, you know, LeBron only has a couple rings, but it's like Kobe has more rings than he did. Like, and Kobe has an 80-point game. LeBron does not have that. It's like, and it's like even like the older guys.
Would have been weird if LeBron broke it today, wouldn't it?
Oh, it's the anniversary of Kobe's death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3 years.
But a long time ago. Wow. I was coming back from Virginia when he died.
Were you?
Yeah.
Interesting.
I was sitting in what airport? I think Chicago, maybe, or Philly or Atlanta, or something.
So a big one.
Yeah, but I got on a tiny plane, which was weird to go to Buffalo.
I bet it was Atlanta.
But yeah, I remember sitting in the airport and just sitting there and then seeing it happen. I went on my phone and I didn't think it was real. And I was like, what? I was like, I think I was scrolling through Twitter and saw somebody say "Rip Kobe," and that's how it started. And I was like, "What's going on?
What does Rip Kobe mean?"
And then somebody retweeted like his teammate Fox, the good Rick Fox, and he was like, "Oh my God, I just heard about Kobe. Oh my God," kind of thing. But like he was doing that thing where like you don't say what's going on, you just are like, "Oh my God, something's happening," and you're like, "What?" And then that's when it happened. When I really found out. Yeah, that was wild.
It was. So
I feel like though I don't know, because it's like all the basketball eras were so different, like so distinctly different. And it's like, yes, they were different in football, and like even in like when it comes to hockey, like I feel like you could do the same thing with Gretzky as you could do with Brady. Like I feel like even if Ovechkin breaks, I think when he does, I think he's going to, when he breaks the goal record, like it will still be Gretzky.
1,000 points behind Gretzky.
Right. So it's like you're comparing apples to oranges.
Gretzky had more assists than he had goals.
Yeah. So like, so then it's like Gretzky, but I feel like baseball is kind of the exact same way as basketball, where it's like there are just multiple GOATs from different eras, and it's like
interesting.
I don't know. Because it's like baseball does to me shift, because I feel like the shift from it being like a pitcher's league to like a really high offensive league like it is now, that's a huge change in the way baseball.
Those changes were made by
baseball,
by changing rules.
Well, I understand that, but like but I think if you were to look at the era of the pitchers, you would sit there and name more pitchers that were considered GOATs than you would hitters, because it was a pitcher era. But now you would sit here and be like, oh, Barry Bonds, like those guys, like, and even though he did steroids, whatever, he still was able to do what he did on steroids. And I get that, and that's cheating, but still, it's impressive.
I don't care.
Like even Mark McGwire too. Like that's impressive to still hit that many home runs.
Yeah.
Even like it's even being ripped out of your mind. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever. And it's like,
I don't care. Whatever. Steroids. I mean, Scott Rowland makes the Baseball Hall of Fame. He doesn't deserve to be in there. Only one player gets in.
Like it's ridiculous. That's ridiculous to me.
And Bonds and Clemens and all these guys aren't getting in, and it's stupid. I like,
it's like, who cares? Like they did their time, whatever. It should have been like the very last year they should have made it in my opinion. Like they should whatever. You want to make them wait and you want to be that petty about it, then be that petty about it. But at the end of the day, these guys
no, they're being so petty that they're gonna have to get in by Veterans Committee.
Well, right. But I'm saying, like, the last year they were eligible, like 2 years ago, I think it was. Like, they should have let them in my opinion. Like you be that petty, but up to that point where they don't have to go through the Veterans Committee, where they still might not even make it because it's the Veterans Committee and they're going to try to
protect the sanctity.
Right. They want to, right. Which is what they did to begin with.
Right.
But it's like, you sit there and And still, it's impressive what these guys did, steroids or not. Like, to see Barry Bonds demolish the home run record, to watch Bonds and McGuire go back and forth and back and forth, like, that's impressive.
Yeah.
To be able to just do that consistently, like they still have to know where the ball's going. Like, they still have to do the things that a baseball player does.
Right.
It's like they just were stronger. They could just hit it out of the park.
Right.
Like, okay, whatever. Who cares? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So, but I feel like when it comes to asking about like GOATs, like you could sit there, say Brady, Gretzky, but like when it comes to baseball, there's multiple. When it comes to basketball, there are just, it's tough. It's multiple.
There's a few though.
Yeah.
In basketball,
well, in basketball, it's a very
it's a small list.
It's a very small list. But I mean, like you could, I don't know. I feel like you still gotta, like, I always feel like I don't know. It's so weird because like I wasn't raised on basketball or anything, but like I have such a like deep respect for like Magic Johnson and like what he was able to do and like those players of like that era and like Bill Russell with all of his rings and like all that stuff and you know Wilt and like so I feel like when you are talking about like basketball, like you can't not include the GOAT conversation without talking about those guys. Like I don't know, because it's like I felt like
that's fair.
That was like the start of like real NBA though. Like the NBA we know, like with like people being
Magic
so
and Bird.
invested. Yeah.
Magic and Bird was the kickoff of Showtime. It was the I mean,
yeah,
they were called Showtime, but
right.
I mean it was
Showtime
the kick it was the kickoff of the NBA we know today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
I mean like
the Magic Bird rivalry.
Yeah. Like players actually having rivalries, like you know, player like
talking to each other.
Yeah.
And, yeah.
I always love hearing Bird's trash talk because it's like just so like plain,
right?
But he just like swears all in it.
Yeah,
he's like just like it's so funny.
Yeah,
it's while the rest of the guys will be like your mom and like really like try to be like, oh, you suck. He'll just be like, you're not making this shot, you tooth butt grit. It's like, okay, what? Like. But oh my god, I was watching just before we get out of here. One last basketball thing. I was watching a TikTok, and I think they were talking to Garnett, and they were like, "Who's the best trash talker?" And he was like, Duncan. And they were like, Duncan? And he was like, yeah, because Duncan would just go up to you, and he's like, no one would see it, no one would believe you, and he's like, no one would hear it, but he's like, you missed your shot, and he'd be like, nice try, and then he'd go just back down the court. And not do anything else, or like you'd be, awesome. Or you'd be like shooting up there, and you walk by and be like, "Don't miss a shot," and then go to a spot, and no one would notice, no one would hear it, and then like, and he's like, one time he was talking about Garnett was talking about, he's like, he's guarding him, and he goes up and he misses, and he's like, Duncan laughed. And he's like, it was the plainest laugh I've ever heard, and no one saw it, and he kept a straight face. But he laughed in my face, grabbed the ball, and went back down the court. And I was shocked. He was like, I was amazed. He's like, I couldn't even get back into play.
Yeah.
But I just thought that was hilarious. Like, out of all of the people to think, he's like Tony Duncan. He's like, because he would just be short and sweet with it. Tim Duncan. Tony Duncan, his brother. But I just out of all the people, and yeah, his long lost brother. You didn't know that? You know he had a little brother.
You're thinking of Tony Parker, probably.
But yeah, just put them together.
Yeah,
whatever. But yeah, out of all the people, for it to be Duncan, I just thought that was funny.
That is because he's so always seen as like so.
He's like Kawhi.
Yeah.
And that's what players also say about Kawhi, though. But like Kawhi gets animated at points more than Duncan does. But like most of the time, he's like, that's what players say about Kawhi too, is that he just like hits you with like this monotone, like one line, one quick, like just snap at you. Like he doesn't like trash talk like the whole game or like run his mouth. He just will like anytime you do something wrong, you do something like you miss a shot, whatever. He's just like, haha. And that's it. Like, and you're just like, oh, okay. Like, but
interesting.
Yeah. Anything else?
No, I've had fun.
Yeah, me too.
This was a good show.
Yeah.
For those who stuck around, watch us talk Bills Bengals. We appreciate you. And let's have Noah take us home.
Yeah, well, like he said, if you made it to the end, we appreciate you. As always, make sure to interact with us at Game Day 716 on Twitter. If you're here still, like and subscribe on YouTube. That's all I got. Gonna be a long 9 months, folks. We can do this. The Bills will be back. It's not a lot of might not be the same roster.
It won't be the same roster.
Some fan favorites might go, but at the end of the day, we're all Bills fans. I think at the end of the day, also, there is a lot of hope. Like it's not like we're looking at a complete rebuild here. Like we do have a roster. We still have Josh Allen.
We
still have
competitive.
Diggs.
Yep.
Don't think the Bills are going to trade Diggs. We didn't get to that, but
yeah, they're not trading Diggs.
They're not going to trade Diggs, but
his relationship with Josh is fine.
We'll see if she made it all the way to the end. But anyway, also the Sabres. There's 35 games left. Let's go fill the stadium, the arena, whatever it's called. Let's go fill KeyBank.
KBA.
Let's get them to the playoffs. They're 1 point out. They're playing right now. Haven't got any score updates, so I'm assuming it's still 0-0. Yeah. But yeah, let's go. I think we're still gonna have fun as Buffalo fans, even though this Bills game's happened. We're still gonna have fun. But with that said, stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Go Bills, go Sabres, go Chiefs.
Show us the sun.